Welcome. Take a breath. You're here now, and that's exactly where you need to be. Maybe you're lying here after another long day, your body tired, but your mind still racing in the liminal space between consciousness and dreams, where reality softens its edges and possibility expands beyond ordinary limits. There exists a sanctuary for souls who've forgotten their own visibility. Tonight, as your breathing naturally deepens and your body surrenders to gravity's gentle embrace, we enter a realm where the desire to disappear transforms into the courage to emerge. Within this sacred dimension of healing narrative, time moves differently. Past and future dissolve into a flowing present where transformation becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Here, in this quantum field of story and soul, lives a character whose journey mirrors the hidden chambers of your own heart. Someone who understands the complex psychology of wanting to fade away, to become invisible, to escape the overwhelming intensity of being seen and known. This is not a place of judgment, but of profound understanding. Every soul who has ever wished to dissolve into nothingness, to slip between the cracks of existence, to find refuge in anonymity, carries within them a wisdom that the world often fails to recognize. Tonight, through the alchemy of narrative and the gentle power of story, we explore not the pathology of disappearing, but its hidden intelligence, the protective wisdom that whispers, "Retreat," when the soul feels too exposed, too vulnerable, too raw for the harshness of visibility. As your conscious mind begins its natural journey toward rest, allow yourself to be carried into a dimension where disappearing becomes not an ending, but a transformation, a metamorphosis. From hiding to healing, from invisibility to authentic presence. In this realm of therapeutic storytelling, every breath you take draws you deeper into a narrative that honors your complexity, while gently guiding you toward a more integrated way of being in the world. The character we meet tonight exists in a reality that mirrors our own, yet transcends its limitations. Through their eyes, we witness the intricate dance between the desire to vanish and the soul's deeper longing to be truly seen and accepted. Their story becomes a bridge between your conscious understanding and your unconscious wisdom, creating pathways for healing that bypass the mind's defenses and speak directly to the heart's ancient intelligence. In this therapeutic dimension, every word carries vibrational medicine. Every scene offers cellular healing. Every revelation provides keys to unlock doors you didn't even know existed within yourself. As we journey together through this narrative landscape, your nervous system naturally calibrates to receive the frequencies of peace. Your psyche opens to new possibilities for being, and your spirit remembers its inherent worthiness of taking up space in this world. The psychology of wanting to disappear holds within it profound truths about sensitivity, overwhelm, boundary violations, and the soul's natural response to environments that feel unsafe for authentic expression. Tonight, through the gentle power of story, these truths are honored, understood, and ultimately transformed into pathways towards sustainable visibility, a way of being present in the world that feels both safe and authentic. Let your breathing deepen as we cross the threshold into this healing dimension, where a character awaits whose journey will illuminate your own, whose struggles will validate your experience, and whose transformation will activate possibilities within you that have long remained dormant. In this space of narrative medicine, disappearing becomes not an escape, but a return, a journey back to the essential self that knows its own value and deserves to exist in fullness and peace. In a coastal town where morning mist regularly erases the boundary between sea and sky, lives Elena, a 34-year-old maritime cartographer whose profession involves mapping the invisible currents beneath visible waters. Her small apartment sits perched above an antique bookstore, its windows perpetually fogged by the ocean's breath, creating a gauzy barrier between her inner world and the bustling street below. Elena possesses the rare gift of perceiving patterns. Others miss underwater topographies, hidden currents, the secret pathways that ships follow beneath the surface. Yet this same sensitivity that makes her brilliant at her work renders everyday human interactions overwhelming and exhausting. She experiences the world through a nervous system calibrated to detect the subtlest environmental shifts, making her acutely aware of every emotional undercurrent in a room, every unspoken tension between people, every micro-expression that reveals hidden feelings. Her daily routine has become an elaborate choreography of avoidance. She grocery shops at dawn when the aisles are empty, takes circuitous routes to avoid crowded spaces, and has perfected the art of existing without leaving traces. Elena's apartment reflects this philosophy of minimal impact, sparse furnishings, neutral colors, nothing that might draw attention or suggest a personality bold enough to make demands on the world. The desire to disappear manifests in Elena not as depression, but as a sophisticated protective system developed over years of feeling too much, sensing too deeply, and being unable to modulate the intensity of her perceptual experience. She has learned that visibility often leads to overwhelm, that being seen frequently results in being misunderstood, and that the safest path through life involves maintaining the lowest possible profile. Her work, mapping underwater territories, serves as both metaphor and refuge. She spends her days charting invisible realms, understanding the hidden dynamics that influence surface phenomena. Through sonar readings and depth measurements, she creates detailed maps of underwater mountains, valleys, and caverns that most people never know exist. This work satisfies her need to contribute meaningfully while honoring her preference for exploring reality's hidden dimensions rather than its obvious surfaces. Elena's relationships exist primarily through email and professional correspondence. She has developed a reputation for being mysteriously insightful, offering profound observations through written communication while remaining virtually absent from social gatherings. Colleagues respect her expertise, but know almost nothing about her personal life, her dreams, or the rich inner landscape that generates her remarkable ability to perceive what others miss. The psychology of her disappearing tendency reveals itself as an intricate adaptive response to a world that feels perpetually overstimulating. As a child, Elena learned that making herself small, quiet, and unobtrusive provided relief from the overwhelming intensity of family dynamics, social expectations, and environmental stimuli. Her nervous system developed extraordinary sensitivity as a survival mechanism, allowing her to detect and avoid potential overwhelm before it occurred. Yet beneath this sophisticated protective system lives a soul with profound gifts to offer the world. Elena's ability to perceive hidden currents translates not only to her cartographic work, but to an intuitive understanding of human emotional dynamics, systemic patterns, and the underlying forces that shape visible reality. Her desire to disappear contains within it a deeper longing, not to cease existing, but to find ways of being present that feel sustainable and authentic. Her apartment walls are covered with her own hand-drawn maps, each one revealing invisible territories beneath familiar surfaces. These maps represent more than professional work. They embody Elena's unconscious recognition that beneath every visible phenomenon lies a hidden world of greater complexity and meaning. Her cartographic gift serves as a metaphor for her psychological journey, learning to map not only external territories, but the invisible landscape of her own soul. The coastal setting mirrors Elena's internal state perfectly. The ever-changing boundary between sea and sky reflects her own fluid relationship with visibility and invisibility, presence and absence. The morning mists that regularly obscure the horizon echo her daily experience of living behind a gauze of protective distance from direct human contact. The town's rhythm of tides offers a natural metaphor for the ebb and flow of her own energy, her need for retreat and emergence. Elena's story begins at a moment when this carefully constructed system of protective invisibility encounters a catalyst that will challenge her to explore new ways of existing in the world. Her journey represents not the abandonment of her sensitivity, but its transformation from a source of overwhelm into a foundation for authentic presence. Through her experience, we explore how the psychology of wanting to disappear can evolve into the wisdom of knowing when and how to emerge. The coastal town of Solace Bay exists at the intersection of visible and invisible worlds, where geographic features naturally embody the psychological territories Elena navigates daily. Built on a series of terraced cliffs that descend toward a harbor shrouded in perpetual mist, the town's architecture reflects an organic understanding of the need for both exposure to light and protection from overwhelming visibility. Ancient stone buildings rise from the cliffs like natural formations, their weathered surfaces bearing the patina of decades spent mediating between storms and calm. Windows are strategically placed to capture light while maintaining privacy, and narrow alleyways wind between structures and patterns that mirror the underwater canyons Elena maps in her professional work. The town's design unconsciously honors both the human need for connection and the equally important need for retreat. The harbor serves as the town's beating heart, where fishing boats emerge from and disappear into morning mists with a rhythm as reliable as breathing. This daily dance of visibility and invisibility provides a living metaphor for Elena's internal experience, the way consciousness can emerge from and dissolve back into the mysterious depths of being. Local fishermen have developed an intuitive understanding of these mists, knowing exactly when visibility will lift and when it will descend, much as Elena has learned to navigate her own cycles of emergence and retreat. Above the harbor, the Maritime Research Institute occupies a converted lighthouse, its circular chambers providing Elena with workspace that honors both her need for perspective and her preference for solitude. The building's original function guiding ships safely through dangerous waters mirrors Elena's own unconscious role as someone whose sensitivity allows her to perceive hazards others might miss. Her office, located in the lighthouse's upper chambers, offers panoramic views of the sea's surface while sophisticated equipment reveals the hidden topographies beneath. The town's residential areas cascade down the cliffs in layers that naturally create varying degrees of social interaction. Elena's apartment, positioned in the middle tier, provides optimal balance between complete isolation and overwhelming exposure. From her window, she can observe community life without being required to participate directly, watching the ebb and flow of human interaction from a safe distance that allows her nervous system to remain regulated. Solace Bay's natural environment embodies principles of sanctuary and refuge. Protected coves offer calm waters where sensitive souls can find respite from the ocean's more turbulent expressions. Hidden beaches accessible only by narrow paths provide spaces for solitude and contemplation. Tidal pools reveal complex ecosystems that thrive in the margins between land and sea, offering biological metaphors for Elena's own existence at the boundary between visibility and invisibility. The town's social culture has evolved to honor different levels of participation and engagement. Long-term residents intuitively understand that some community members contribute through visible leadership, while others offer their gifts through more subtle forms of presence. This organic wisdom creates space for Elena's way of being without pathologizing her need for protective distance from overwhelming social demands. Local weather patterns reinforce themes of concealment and revelation. Morning mists regularly transform familiar landscapes into mysterious territories, while afternoon light burns through fog to reveal previously hidden vistas. These daily cycles of visibility and invisibility provide Elena with external validation for her internal rhythms, confirming that both states serve essential functions in the natural order. The town's economy reflects sophisticated understanding of different forms of contribution. While some businesses thrive on direct customer interaction, others, like Elena's cartographic work, provide essential services through more indirect forms of engagement. This economic ecosystem honors various personality types and work styles, creating space for people who contribute meaningfully without requiring constant visibility or social performance. Seasonal changes in Solace Bay mirror the psychological journey Elena will undertake. Winter months bring longer periods of mist and shorter days, naturally supporting retreat and introspection. Spring arrivals gradually increase visibility and light, creating organic invitations for emergence. Summer offers full exposure and extended daylight, while autumn provides transition back toward protective darkness. These natural cycles normalize the rhythm of visibility and invisibility rather than pathologizing either state. The geographical features surrounding Solace Bay include both exposed headlands and protected inlets, offering visual metaphors for different ways of engaging with life's challenges. Some areas face storms directly, while others provide sheltered harbors where vessels can wait until conditions improve. This landscape teaches that both approaches serve essential functions. Sometimes courage requires direct engagement, while at other times, wisdom involves strategic retreat. Underground freshwater springs feed the town's water supply, flowing invisibly beneath the surface to sustain visible life above. These hidden currents parallel Elena's own unconscious contributions, the ways her sensitivity and insight nourish her community even when her presence remains largely unnoticed. Her cartographic work mapping underwater territories serves literally and metaphorically to reveal these invisible support systems that sustain visible reality. This carefully crafted environment provides the perfect container for Elena's journey, from protective invisibility toward sustainable presence. Every feature of Solace Bay reinforces the story's central themes while offering Elena multiple pathways for gradual transformation. The setting itself becomes a character that supports her evolution without forcing change at a pace that would overwhelm her finely calibrated nervous system. Elena's days unfold according to precisely calibrated rhythms designed to minimize unexpected interactions and maintain optimal energy levels. Her alarm sounds at 5:30 a.m., providing 2 hours of solitude before the town begins stirring. This early morning window represents her most peaceful time, when she can move through her routines without the energetic residue of other people's emotions permeating the atmosphere. Her breakfast ritual involves standing at the kitchen window, sipping herbal tea while observing the harbor's transition from night to day. This practice serves multiple functions. It provides gentle stimulation for her nervous system through natural light exposure, offers her sensitive perception system time to assess the day's energetic weather, and satisfies her deep need for beauty without requiring social interaction. She notices which boats are preparing for departure, how the mist sits on the water, whether seagulls seem agitated or calm, all data that help her calibrate her own energy for the day ahead. The walk to her office becomes an exercise in strategic navigation. Elena has mapped every route to avoid peak pedestrian traffic, identifying side streets and pathways that minimize chance encounters requiring polite conversation. She carries noise-canceling headphones not for music, but to create a sound barrier that discourages casual social interaction. Her peripheral vision constantly scans for familiar faces that might require acknowledgement, preparing escape routes when avoidance becomes necessary. At the Maritime Research Institute, Elena has negotiated an office arrangement that honors her work style and social needs. She arrives before other staff members, allowing her to settle into her space without navigating morning pleasantries that drain her energy reserves before substantive work begins. Her office door remains slightly ajar, not closed enough to appear unfriendly, but not open enough to invite casual interruptions. This delicate positioning reflects her overall approach to existence. Present but protected. Available but not overwhelmed. Her professional interactions occur primarily through email and written reports, mediums that allow her to craft thoughtful responses without the real-time pressure of verbal communication. Elena has developed a reputation for sending incredibly detailed, insightful analyses that demonstrate profound understanding of complex maritime systems. Colleagues appreciate her thoroughness while remaining largely unaware of the anxiety she experiences during face-to-face meetings. When in-person meetings become unavoidable, Elena employs sophisticated coping strategies developed through years of trial and error. She positions herself near exits, carries a water bottle to manage dry mouth caused by nervous system activation, and prepares detailed notes in advance to reduce cognitive load during social interaction. She has learned to appear engaged while internally regulating her nervous system through controlled breathing and subtle grounding techniques. Lunch hours provide another carefully orchestrated retreat from social demands. Elena packs simple meals that can be eaten quickly in her office, avoiding the staff cafeteria where conversation expectations and sensory overwhelm converge. She uses this midday break for nervous system regulation through gentle stretching, breathing exercises, and brief meditation practices that restore her capacity for afternoon work. Her professional expertise centers on creating detailed bathymetric maps charts that reveal underwater topographies invisible from the surface. This work perfectly suits her psychological makeup, requiring intense focus, sensitivity to subtle data patterns, and the ability to perceive complex relationships that others might miss. She spends hours analyzing sonar readings, depth measurements, and current patterns, translating invisible underwater landscapes into precise visual representations. Evening routines prioritize nervous system recovery from the day's accumulated stimulation. Elena's apartment becomes a carefully controlled sensory environment where lighting, sound, and visual complexity are minimized to support her highly sensitive processing system. She prepares simple dinners that require minimal decision-making, choosing familiar foods that provide comfort without overwhelming her already taxed sensory apparatus. Her relationship with technology reflects broader patterns of engagement and withdrawal. Elena maintains minimal social media presence, using platforms primarily for professional networking, while avoiding personal disclosure that might invite unwanted attention or social obligations. She has learned to appreciate technology's capacity for connection, while maintaining protective barriers against its more overwhelming aspects. Sleep preparation involves elaborate rituals designed to help her nervous system transition from hypervigilance to rest. She dims lights gradually, uses blackout curtains to create complete darkness, and employs white noise machines to mask unpredictable sounds that might trigger startled responses. These preparations reflect her understanding that her sensitive system requires more structured support than others might need for basic functions like sleep. Weekend routines emphasize restoration and solitude. Elena grocery shops early Sunday mornings when stores are nearly empty, takes long walks on secluded beaches where she can process the week's accumulated stimulation, and engages in creative activities like watercolor painting that provide gentle stimulation without social demands. These activities serve as pressure relief valves, allowing her nervous system to discharge energy that is built up during weekday professional obligations. Her home environment reflects sophisticated understanding of how physical space affects psychological states. Colors remain muted to avoid visual overstimulation. Furniture placement creates clear pathways that prevent feelings of being trapped, and personal objects are chosen for their calming rather than stimulating qualities. Every detail serves her need for environmental predictability and control. Financial management demonstrates Elena's instinct for security and self-sufficiency. She maintains substantial savings accounts, pays bills well in advance, and avoids financial obligations that might require frequent social interaction or unpredictable demands on her time and energy. This economic strategy provides her with options for retreat when life becomes overwhelming, maintaining autonomy over her engagement with external demands. These behavioral patterns reveal the sophisticated, protective system Elena has developed. In response to her highly sensitive nervous system and previous experiences of overwhelm, each routine serves specific regulatory functions, while minimizing exposure to situations that historically depleted her energy or caused anxiety. Understanding these patterns not as pathology, but as adaptive responses provides the foundation for her eventual transformation from protective invisibility towards sustainable presence. Elena's relationship with visibility and invisibility originated in the complex dynamics of her childhood home, where emotional intensity was both ever-present and unpredictable. Born into a family of passionate artists and intellectuals, she entered a world where feelings were expressed at volumes that overwhelmed her naturally sensitive nervous system. Her parents, both university professors, engaged in intellectually stimulating but emotionally charged debates that filled their home with an energy that felt simultaneously exciting and exhausting to young Elena. Her mother, Dr. Sarah Chen, taught comparative literature and possessed a brilliant mind that analyzed human experience through the lens of great narratives. However, Sarah's intellectual gifts came paired with emotional volatility that created an atmosphere of constant vigilance in their household. Elena learned early to read her mother's micro-expressions, voice tones, and body language, developing hypervigilant sensitivity as a survival mechanism for navigating unpredictable emotional terrain. Her father, Professor Marcus Rivera, specialized in marine biology and shared Elena's fascination with underwater worlds. He provided her first glimpse into realms that existed beneath visible surfaces, teaching her to appreciate the complex ecosystems that thrived away from direct sunlight. Yet Marcus struggled with depression that would descend without warning, transforming him from an engaged, curious scientist into someone who seemed to disappear emotionally while remaining physically present. Elena's earliest memories involve feeling simultaneously too much and not enough too sensitive for her family's emotional intensity, yet not substantial enough to influence the overwhelming dynamics surrounding her. She discovered that making herself small, quiet, and unobtrusive provided relief from the exhausting work of constantly monitoring and responding to adult emotional states that felt far too large for her developing nervous system to process. School environments reinforced her instinct for protective invisibility. Elena's sensitivity, which manifested as an uncanny ability to perceive social undercurrents and emotional tensions, made her acutely aware of peer group dynamics that other children navigated unconsciously. She could sense impending conflicts, detect when friendships were fragmenting, and feel the anxiety of teachers struggling with classroom management. This constant reception of emotional information overwhelmed her capacity for normal childhood social interaction. Her academic brilliance provided both refuge and additional challenges. Teachers appreciated her insightful observations and exceptional written work, but Elena experienced their positive attention as another form of overwhelm. Being recognized for her intelligence meant becoming visible in ways that felt unsafe to her highly calibrated protective system. She learned to perform just below her actual capabilities, maintaining grades high, enough to avoid concern while preventing the kind of recognition that might lead to increased expectations or visibility. During adolescence, Elena's sensitivity expanded to include awareness of her family's unspoken dynamics and her parents' growing marital tensions. She became an emotional barometer for household stress, sensing conflicts before they erupted and absorbing anxiety that belonged to the adults around her. Her natural empathy which could have developed into a gift for understanding others, instead became a burden that made her feel responsible for managing emotions that weren't her own. The family's eventual divorce, when Elena was 16, confirmed her unconscious belief that emotional intensity inevitably led to destruction. She witnessed how her parents' passionate engagement with life, their intellectual debates, artistic pursuits, and emotional expressiveness ultimately contributed to the dissolution of their partnership. This experience reinforced her developing philosophy that maintaining low emotional profiles provided better long-term outcomes than risking the vulnerability of full presence. College offered Elena her first taste of chosen invisibility rather than survival-based hiding. She selected a large university where she could attend classes without being noticed, chose a dormitory room that minimized social interaction, and discovered academic subjects that matched her natural abilities, while honoring her preference for intellectual rather than social engagement. Marine sciences provided perfect alignment with her gifts for perceiving hidden patterns and her comfort with exploring realms that existed away from direct visibility. Her undergraduate years were marked by academic excellence achieved through solitary study and minimal participation in campus social life. Elena's professors recognized her exceptional analytical abilities and recommended her for graduate programs, but she consistently chose options that provided maximum intellectual challenge with minimum social exposure. She gravitated toward research projects that could be completed independently, avoiding team-based work that required ongoing collaboration and interpersonal navigation. Graduate school in maritime cartography represented the crystallization of Elena's unconscious wisdom about finding meaningful work that honored both her gifts and her limitations. Creating maps of underwater territories allowed her to contribute valuable knowledge to scientific understanding while maintaining the protective distance her nervous system required. Her thesis project, mapping previously uncharted underwater canyon systems, earned recognition for its thoroughness and insight while requiring minimal direct interaction with academic communities. The transition from student to professional life reinforced Elena's belief that she had successfully found a sustainable way of existing in the world. Her cartographic work provided intellectual satisfaction, financial security, and social contribution without demanding the kind of visibility that historically overwhelmed her system. The move to Solace Bay felt like a natural progression toward an environment that would support her preferred balance between meaningful engagement and protective solitude. Yet beneath Elena's sophisticated protective system lived experiences of profound beauty and connection that her sensitivity had also made possible. Childhood moments of perceiving beauty in subtle natural phenomena, deep empathy for others, experiences, and intuitive understanding of complex systems revealed gifts that had been buried beneath protective strategies but never fully lost. Her origin story contains not only the development of defensive invisibility, but also the preservation of remarkable capacities that await rediscovery and integration. Understanding Elena's history reveals how her desire to disappear developed as an intelligent response to genuine overwhelm rather than pathological withdrawal. Her sensitive nervous system required protection in environments that provided insufficient regulation support, leading to adaptive strategies that prioritize survival over full expression. This foundation of compassionate understanding becomes essential for her eventual journey toward sustainable visibility and authentic presence. The catalyst for Elena's transformation arrives on a Tuesday morning in early October, wrapped in the mundane packaging of routine professional correspondence. As she opens her email to begin her daily work ritual, Elena encounters a message that will fundamentally challenge her carefully constructed system of protective invisibility. Dr. James Morrison, director of the International Maritime Research Consortium, has written to invite Elena to serve as the keynote speaker at their annual conference in Vancouver. The email praises her groundbreaking work mapping the Mendocino underwater canyon system, describing her research as revolutionary contributions to our understanding of deep-sea topographical relationships. The invitation requests that she present her findings to over 300 marine scientists, policymakers, and environmental researchers from around the world. Elena's initial response involves her nervous system shifting immediately into protective overdrive. Her heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, and familiar sensations of wanting to physically disappear flood her awareness. The email sits on her screen like a portal to a reality she has spent years carefully avoiding, one where her work, her insights, and ultimately herself would be exposed to the kind of scrutiny and attention that feels fundamentally unsafe to her finely tuned protective system. Yet something unprecedented accompanies this familiar overwhelm response. For the first time in Elena's adult life, a small voice within her consciousness whispers curiosity rather than only fear. The invitation acknowledges work that represents her deepest passion and most significant professional accomplishments. Someone has not only noticed her contributions, but considers them valuable enough to warrant international recognition. This creates cognitive dissonance between her habitual invisibility and a previously unacknowledged longing to have her work truly seen and appreciated. The email forces Elena to confront questions she has successfully avoided for years. What happens when hiding becomes more limiting than the risks of visibility? How long can exceptional work remain buried beneath protective strategies before it stagnates? Does her commitment to invisibility ultimately serve her gifts or suppress them? These questions arise not as intellectual puzzles, but as visceral challenges to the fundamental assumptions that have organized her adult life. Over the following days, Elena finds herself unable to dismiss the invitation despite her inclination to decline immediately. She crafts multiple email responses, some politely declining due to scheduling conflicts, others explaining her preference for written rather than verbal presentation of research findings. Yet she sends none of these messages, finding herself caught between familiar protective impulses and an emerging awareness that her current system of existence has reached its evolutionary limits. Her daily routines begin revealing their restrictive qualities in ways she has never noticed before. The careful navigation of social interaction starts feeling more like imprisonment than protection. A precisely calibrated work environment begins seeming sterile rather than peaceful. The predictable rhythms of her life, which have provided stability and safety, suddenly appear to lack the dynamism necessary for continued growth and contribution. Elena's relationship with her cartographic work becomes complicated by the recognition that her maps reveal invisible territories while she herself remains largely invisible to the scientific community that could benefit from her insights. The irony becomes inescapable. Her professional expertise involves making hidden realities visible, while her personal existence involves sophisticated strategies for remaining hidden. This contradiction creates internal tension that her protective system cannot easily resolve. Sleep becomes elusive as Elena's unconscious mind processes implications of the invitation she has neither accepted nor declined. Dreams feature scenarios where she stands before large audiences, sometimes with confidence and clarity, other times with overwhelming anxiety and the desire to flee. These nocturnal rehearsals reveal both her terror of visibility and her previously unacknowledged longing to share her discoveries with people who might understand their significance. The invitation forces Elena to examine the costs of her protective invisibility with unprecedented honesty. She recognizes that her fear of overwhelm has prevented not only negative experiences, but also positive ones that might have enriched her life and expanded her contributions. The realization emerges that her sophisticated avoidance strategies While protecting her from potential harm, I've also insulated her from opportunities for meaningful connection and professional growth. Physical symptoms manifest as Elena's body processes this internal conflict. Tension headaches become frequent, sleep disturbances increase, and her typically reliable appetite fluctuates unpredictably. Her nervous system struggles to integrate competing impulses, the familiar pull towards safety through invisibility, and an emerging recognition that true safety might require learning to navigate visibility rather than avoiding it entirely. Elena's work productivity decreases as she finds herself staring at underwater topographical maps while contemplating her own hidden landscapes. The detailed charts of submarine territories become mirrors reflecting her internal geography, vast, unexplored regions that remain unmapped, undiscovered potential that awaits the courage to bring it into visibility. Her professional expertise in revealing hidden territories paradoxically highlights her personal expertise in keeping essential aspects of herself concealed. The invitation represents more than a professional opportunity. It embodies Elena's deepest conflict between self-protection and self-expression, between maintaining safety through invisibility and risking visibility for growth and contribution. This collision between her established protective system and emerging possibilities for expanded presence creates the perfect conditions for transformation, not through force or external pressure, but through the organic tension between competing values that have both served important functions in her life. As Elena sits with this invitation, neither accepting nor declining, she unknowingly positions herself at the threshold of a profound journey. The familiar territory of protective invisibility extends behind her, offering continued safety but diminishing returns. Ahead lies unexplored territory, where her gifts might find fuller expression, but require her to develop new capacities for managing visibility without losing her essential self. Alana's transformation begins through an encounter as unexpected as morning mist, revealing hidden shorelines. 3 days after receiving the conference invitation, still unanswered and growing heavier in her consciousness, like stone in water, she discovers an elderly woman sitting on the bench outside her apartment building, gazing intently at the harbor through thick morning fog. The woman appears to be in her 70s, with silver hair that catches light despite the overcast conditions, and clothing that suggests someone comfortable with maritime environments. What strikes Elena most profoundly is the quality of stillness surrounding this stranger, not the frozen stillness of anxiety or withdrawal, but the dynamic stillness of someone deeply present and completely at ease with their own visibility. Elena's usual pattern would involve waiting until the woman leaves before exiting her building. But something about this presence interrupts her habitual avoidance strategies. Instead of retreating to her apartment to wait, Elena finds herself pausing at the building's entrance, studying this person who radiates such calm presence in the midst of weather that typically drives others indoors. "The fog will lift soon," the woman says without turning around, her voice carrying the kind of certainty that comes from decades of observing natural patterns. It always does, though sometimes we forget while we're waiting within it. Elena realizes she's been noticed despite her attempts at unobtrusive observation. Rather than triggering her usual anxiety about unwanted social interaction, this acknowledgement feels surprisingly comfortable. The woman's observation about fog contains layers of meaning that resonate with Elena's current internal weather. The way confusion and overwhelming emotions can obscure clear perception while remaining temporary rather than permanent conditions. "I'm Dr. Anya Kowalski," the woman continues, finally turning to offer Elena a smile that conveys both warmth and respect for personal boundaries. "I teach navigation at the Maritime Academy, though my real expertise involves helping people find their way through internal storms as much as external ones." Elena introduces herself with uncharacteristic ease, surprised to discover that conversation with this stranger requires none of the energy management she typically employs during social interactions. Dr. Kowalski's presence creates a field of calm that allows Elena's nervous system to remain regulated despite engaging in spontaneous dialogue. I noticed your name on the recent bathymetric survey publications, Dr. Kowalski mentions. Your work mapping the Mendocino Canyon system revealed patterns that several of my colleagues have been discussing. You have a gift for perceiving what others miss, for seeing the architecture beneath surface phenomena. Elena feels simultaneously seen and safe, a combination she has rarely experienced. Dr. Kowalski's recognition of her work comes without pressure for further disclosure or performance. Instead, it feels like acknowledgement of something essential about Elena's nature rather than just her professional accomplishments. I imagine you've been invited to share your discoveries at various conferences. Dr. Kowalski continues, her tone suggesting awareness of the internal conflicts such invitations might create for someone of Elena's temperament. The challenge isn't whether your work deserves visibility, it clearly does. The question becomes how to share your gifts in ways that honor both your contributions and your nature. This observation penetrates Elena's protective defenses with surgical precision, naming the exact dilemma she's been unable to articulate even to herself. Dr. Kowalski somehow understands that Elena's reluctance about visibility stems not from lack of confidence in her work, but from uncertainty about how to maintain her essential self while offering her gifts to larger audiences. May I share something I learned during my own journey from protective invisibility towards sustainable presence? Dr. Kowalski asks, waiting for Elena's nod before continuing. I once believed I had to choose between hiding my true nature and being overwhelmed by exposure. It took years to discover a third option, learning to be visible in ways that actually nourish rather than deplete the sensitive systems that make our perceptions possible. Elena finds herself sitting beside Dr. Kowalski on the bench, drawn into conversation despite her usual preference for brief exchanges. The fog swirls around them like a protective cocoon, creating private space for dialogue that might feel too exposed in clearer weather. Anna shares, for the first time with another person, her current struggle with the conference invitation and the larger questions it has triggered about her relationship with visibility. Your choreographic work reveals territories that exist beneath obvious surfaces, Dr. Kowalski reflects. Perhaps your personal journey involves similar exploration, discovering what lies beneath your surface assumptions about visibility and protection. Sometimes, what we think keeps us safe actually limits our capacity for the very things we most deeply desire. Dr. Kowalski describes her own evolution from someone who hid her expertise behind others' presentations to becoming a sought-after teacher whose classes consistently have waiting lists. Her transformation didn't involve abandoning her naturally introspective temperament, but rather learning to work with it skillfully, finding ways to share her wisdom that honored both her gifts and her nature. The key insight came when I realized that my sensitivity wasn't a limitation to overcome, but a foundation to build upon. Dr. Kowalski explains, the same qualities that made me want to hide deep perception, awareness of subtle dynamics, ability to sense others' needs, were precisely what made my contributions valuable. The challenge was learning to offer these gifts without overwhelming the system that produced them. Elena absorbs this perspective like parched earth receiving gentle rain. The possibility that her sensitivity might be reframed from limitation to foundation creates cognitive space she has never experienced before. Dr. Kowalski's example demonstrates that transformation doesn't require abandoning essential aspects of oneself, but rather learning to express them more skillfully. There's a difference between visibility that demands you perform someone else's expectations and visibility that allows you to share your authentic gifts. Dr. Kowalski continues. The first exhausts sensitive systems because it requires constant vigilance about meeting external demands. The second can actually energize those same systems because it aligns with your natural purpose and allows your gifts to flow rather than forcing them. As their conversation deepens, Elena discovers that Dr. Kowalski has spent years developing approaches to professional visibility that honor highly sensitive temperaments. She has created presentation methods that minimize overwhelming sensory input, develop strategies for managing energy during professional interactions, and learn to recognize the difference between opportunities that genuinely serve her gifts and those that would merely exploit them. Your invitation to present your research represents a choice point, Dr. Kowalski observes, not between hiding and exposing yourself, but between remaining in familiar limitations and exploring new possibilities. For sharing your gifts, the question isn't whether you're ready to be seen. Your work already demonstrates remarkable visibility. The question is whether you're ready to learn sustainable ways of being present while remaining true to your essential nature. Dr. Kowalski reaches into her jacket pocket and withdraws a small, smooth stone that appears to have been shaped by ocean currents. This came from the deepest part of Monterey Canyon, she explains, placing it in Elena's palm. It spent millennia in complete darkness, shaped by invisible forces. Yet when brought to light, it reveals extraordinary beauty. Sometimes treasures formed in hidden depths need to surface not to abandon their essential nature, but to fulfill their purpose. Elena examines the stone, noticing how its surface contains subtle patterns that become visible only when held at certain angles to light. The metaphor resonates deeply with her understanding of her own journey. The way insights, developed in solitude, might serve larger purposes when shared with appropriate audiences under suitable conditions. If you decide to accept this invitation, Dr. Kowalski suggests, consider it an experiment in conscious visibility rather than a commitment to abandoning your protective wisdom. You might discover that sharing your gifts actually strengthens, rather than depletes the sensitive capacities that created them. As the fog begins lifting from the harbor, revealing previously hidden boats and shoreline features, Elena experiences a parallel lifting in her internal atmosphere. Dr. Kowalski's presence and perspective have created space for possibilities she couldn't perceive while trapped within the binary thinking that had dominated her relationship with visibility. The conversation concludes with Dr. Kowalski offering ongoing support should Elena choose to explore new approaches to professional presence. Walking back to her apartment, Elena carries both the stone and a fundamentally altered relationship with her current dilemma. The conference invitation no longer appears as a threat to be avoided or an impossible challenge to be endured. Instead, it has transformed into an opportunity for conscious experimentation with sustainable visibility, a chance to discover whether her gifts might flourish, rather than wither when shared with people capable of appreciating their value. Elena's exploration of new possibilities begins with small, carefully calibrated experiments in visibility that honor her need for safety, while testing her assumptions about exposure and overwhelm. Inspired by her conversation with Dr. Kowalski, but not yet ready to commit to the conference invitation, she designs a series of personal challenges that allow her to gather data about her actual capacity for sustainable presence. Her first experiment involves responding thoughtfully to the conference invitation rather than simply declining or accepting. Elena crafts an email that acknowledges her interest while proposing modifications that might make participation more manageable. She suggests presenting her research through a smaller workshop format rather than a main auditorium keynote, offering to share her findings with a more intimate group of researchers specifically interested in deep-sea cartography. The process of writing this response reveals internal shifts Elena hadn't anticipated. Instead of the familiar anxiety that accompanies visibility-related decisions, she experiences curiosity about how conference organizers might respond to her alternative proposal. Framing her response as a negotiation rather than a binary choice activates problem-solving capacities that have been dormant during her previous avoidance strategies. Dr. Morrison's reply arrives within 24 hours. Expressing enthusiasm for Elena's alternative format and willingness to accommodate her preferences. His response includes details about the workshop structure: 25 participants maximum, roundtable seating to encourage dialogue rather than formal presentation, and flexibility regarding technical equipment that might support Elena's comfort during the session. This accommodation surprises Elena, challenging her assumption that professional visibility requires accepting overwhelming conditions without modification. Encouraged by this positive response, Elena designs her second experiment, engaging more actively in online professional forums where her expertise might contribute to ongoing discussions. Rather than maintaining her usual observed status, she begins offering brief but substantive comments on posts related to underwater cartography and marine research methodology. These digital interactions provide practice with professional visibility, while maintaining protective barriers that face-to-face encounters would eliminate. The responses to Elena's online contributions exceed her most optimistic expectations. Fellow researchers express genuine appreciation for her insights, ask thoughtful follow-up questions, and begin referencing her observations in their own work. Several private messages arrive from graduate students requesting advice about cartographic techniques, creating opportunities for mentorship that feel both meaningful and manageable within Elena's current capacity for social interaction. Elena's third experiment involves accepting a lunch invitation from Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a colleague at the Maritime Research Institute, whom she has known professionally for 3 years but never engaged with socially. This represents a significant departure from Elena's established patterns of keeping professional relationships strictly within workplace boundaries. The lunch meeting takes place at a quiet cafe overlooking the harbor, chosen specifically for its low sensory stimulation and minimal crowd levels. Elena discovers that Dr. Martinez shares many of her preferences for thoughtful conversation over small talk and has been hoping to connect more personally but respected. Elena's apparent need for professional distance. During their 2-hour conversation, Elena experiences unprecedented ease in sharing aspects of her research process, professional philosophy, and even some personal insights about her approach to work-life balance. Dr. Martinez reveals her own struggles with academic visibility. As someone whose research focuses on controversial aspects of climate change marine impact, their discussion evolves into mutual consultation about managing professional presence while maintaining personal authenticity. This successful social experiment generates data that contradicts Elena's long-standing beliefs about the inevitable exhaustion that follows interpersonal engagement. Rather than feeling drained by the interaction, Elena experiences energization that lasts throughout the afternoon and enhances her productivity during subsequent work hours. The quality of connection she experiences with Dr. Martinez creates space for reconsidering her assumptions about the costs and benefits of professional relationship building. Elena's fourth experiment involves volunteering to present her research to a small group of undergraduate marine science students at the local community college. This opportunity allows her to practice verbal presentation of technical material while working with an audience whose enthusiasm compensates for any nervousness she might experience during the session. Preparing for this presentation, Elena discovers that organizing her research for educational purposes clarifies her own understanding of her methodological innovations. The process of translating complex cartographic concepts into accessible language reveals connections between different aspects of her work that she hadn't previously recognized. Teaching preparation becomes an unexpected tool for professional development rather than merely service to others. The actual presentation proceeds more smoothly than Elena anticipated. The student's genuine curiosity about underwater mapping creates an energetic atmosphere that supports rather than threatens. Her nervous system. Their questions prompt Elena to explain aspects of her work she rarely discusses, leading to insights about potential applications of her research that expand her vision of its significance. Following the successful presentation, Elena receives an email from the department chair expressing appreciation for her contribution and inviting her to consider developing a regular guest lecture series. This invitation represents another opportunity for conscious experimentation with visibility, offering ongoing practice with educational sharing while maintaining clear boundaries around time commitment and audience size. Elena's fifth experiment involves participating in a professional video call with international colleagues, working on related deep-sea research projects. This virtual format provides visibility practice while eliminating some of the sensory overwhelm associated with in-person group interactions. The geographical distance paradoxically creates psychological safety that allows Elena to contribute more actively to the discussion than she might during face-to-face meetings. During this video conference, Elena shares preliminary findings from her latest cartographic survey that generates significant interest among participants. Her insights about previously unrecognized current patterns influence the group's collaborative research direction, demonstrating the value of her contributions when she feels supported to offer them fully. The cumulative effect of these experiments creates a foundation of positive experiences with professional visibility that challenges Elena's protective assumptions, while respecting her genuine needs for appropriate support and reasonable accommodations. Each successful interaction provides evidence that carefully designed visibility can enhance rather than compromise her capacity for meaningful work and authentic connection. These experimental forays into sustainable presence reveal that Elena's previous experiences of overwhelm during social interaction resulted not from inherent incompatibility with visibility, but from attempting to engage without adequate preparation, support, or boundary awareness. With conscious attention to her nervous system needs and clear communication about her preferences, professional visibility becomes manageable and even nourishing. As Elena reflects on the data gathered through these experiments, she recognizes a pattern. Her gifts flourish when she can share them authentically rather than according to prescribed formats that ignore her temperament and working style. This insight becomes foundational for her approach to the upcoming conference workshop, transforming it from a threat to be endured into an opportunity to be designed according to principles that honor both her contributions and her nature. Elena's fundamental transformation crystallizes during an unexpected encounter with her own reflection while preparing for the conference workshop. Standing before her bathroom mirror on the morning of her planned departure for Vancouver, she experiences a moment of recognition that transcends her usual self-perception and reveals something essential about her authentic identity. For the first time in her adult life, Elena sees herself not as someone who needs to apologize for taking up space, but as someone whose particular way of being in the world offers unique gifts. The woman looking back at her from the mirror possesses deep intelligence, refined sensitivity, and hard-won wisdom about navigating complex realities while maintaining inner equilibrium. Instead of seeing traits that require hiding or management, Elena perceives capacities that deserve expression and appreciation. This shift in self-perception occurs not through forced positive thinking, but through genuine recognition of qualities she has previously dismissed or minimized. Her sensitivity, which she has long experienced as limitation, appears in this moment as sophisticated responsiveness to environmental subtleties that others miss entirely. Her preference for solitude reveals itself as wisdom about the importance of restoration and reflection in maintaining clarity of perception. The breakthrough deepens as Elena realizes that her cartographic work has always been a metaphor for her psychological journey, just as her professional expertise involves revealing hidden territories beneath visible surfaces. Her personal growth requires mapping the unconscious assumptions that have shaped her relationship with visibility and presence. Her career choice was never merely practical accommodation to social anxiety, but unconscious wisdom, guiding her toward work that honored her gifts while providing framework for understanding her own internal landscape. Elena's resistance to the conference workshop dissolves as she recognizes that sharing her research represents natural expression of her essential nature rather than violation of it. Her discoveries about underwater territories emerge from the same deep perception that makes interpersonal environments feel overwhelming when she lacks appropriate support and preparation. The challenge was never about whether she belonged in professional visibility, but about creating conditions that allowed her authentic presence to emerge without overwhelming the sensitive systems that generated her insights. Standing before the mirror, Elena experiences visceral understanding of the difference between visibility that demands performance of others' expectations and visibility that allows authentic expression of her genuine gifts. The workshop invitation represents the latter, an opportunity to share discoveries that emerge from her particular way of perceiving reality rather than obligation to present herself according to conventional academic formats. The breakthrough moment includes recognition that her years of protective invisibility served essential developmental functions while ultimately preparing her for sustainable presence rather than permanent hiding. The skills she developed for managing overwhelming environments, the sensitivity she cultivated through careful attention to internal states, and the depth of understanding she achieved through solitary reflection all contribute to her capacity for meaningful professional contribution when circumstances support rather than threaten her essential nature. Elena's relationship with Dr. Kowalski's mentorship transforms from grateful dependence to collaborative exchange as she recognizes her own authority regarding her experience and needs. The older woman's guidance provided crucial perspective, but Elena's willingness to experiment with new approaches to visibility demonstrated personal courage and wisdom that belonged entirely to herself. She no longer needs external permission to occupy space in professional environments, but has developed internal authorization based on clear understanding of her gifts and their value. The mirror reflection reveals not only Elena's individual transformation, but her connection to universal themes of authentic presence and meaningful contribution. Her journey from protective invisibility towards sustainable visibility mirrors countless souls who have struggled to find ways of being present in the world that honor both their sensitivity and their gifts. Her particular story becomes a vehicle for healing that extends beyond personal benefit to include others who share similar temperaments and challenges. Elena's preparation for departure takes on ceremonial quality as she packs materials for her workshop presentation. Each item she places in her luggage: research notes, visual aids, comfortable clothing that supports her confidence, represents conscious choice to show up authentically rather than attempt to meet external expectations that ignore her actual needs and capacities. The breakthrough includes recognition that her research about underwater territories has always contained implicit understanding about the relationship between hidden and visible realms. Her maps reveal how invisible currents shape visible phenomena, how depth and surface exist in dynamic relationship rather than opposition, and how understanding complex systems requires attention to both obvious and subtle elements. These same principles apply to her personal journey toward integrating previously hidden aspects of herself into authentic, professional presence. Elena's anxiety about the workshop transforms from fear of exposure to excitement about sharing discoveries. that could benefit others working in related fields. Her research contributions deserve visibility not because she needs validation, but because they offer insights that advance collective understanding of marine systems. This shift from personal vulnerability to professional service provides sustainable motivation for engaging with larger audiences without sacrificing her essential self. The breakthrough moment encompasses Elena's recognition that sustainable visibility requires ongoing negotiation rather than single decisions to hide or expose herself completely. Each professional opportunity becomes chance to practice conscious presence, showing up authentically while maintaining awareness of her needs and boundaries. This dynamic approach to visibility honors both her gifts and her nature while avoiding the rigid extremes of complete hiding or overwhelming exposure. As Elena checks her travel arrangements and reviews her workshop materials, she experiences profound gratitude for the journey that brought her to this moment of integration. Her years of protective invisibility, while limiting in some ways, preserved essential aspects of herself that might have been lost if she had attempted premature or unsupported exposure to overwhelming professional demands. The timing of her emergence feels organic rather than forced, arising from internal readiness rather than external pressure. Elena's transformation exemplifies healing that occurs through expansion rather than replacement of existing capacities. Her sensitivity remains central to her identity, while becoming foundation for contribution rather than reason for hiding. Her preference for depth over breadth continues to influence her choices, while supporting rather than restricting her professional engagement. Her need for restoration and reflection persists, while providing sustainable support for expanded visibility rather than obstacle to professional development. The breakthrough concludes with Elena's recognition that her journey represents ongoing process rather than final destination. Each experience with professional visibility will provide new information about her evolving capacity for authentic presence while maintaining the sensitivity that makes her contributions possible. Her willingness to experiment with sustainable visibility creates foundation for continued growth that honors both her nature and her gifts while serving the larger purposes that give her life meaning and direction. Walking toward her car for the drive to the airport, Elena carries not only luggage, but transformed relationship with visibility, presence, and professional contribution. Her journey from wanting to disappear toward sustainable presence provides template for others navigating similar territories, while honoring the particular gifts that emerge from sensitive, deeply perceptive temperaments that require appropriate support to flourish. Elena's life in the months following the Vancouver workshop reflects profound integration of sustainable visibility practices that honor both her gifts and her nature. The conference experience exceeded her most optimistic expectations, providing validation that her research contributions deserve professional recognition, while demonstrating that meaningful visibility can energize rather than deplete sensitive systems when approached with consciousness and appropriate support. Her daily routines now incorporate practices that support ongoing professional engagement, while maintaining the restorative solitude essential to her well-being. Elena begins each morning with 20 minutes of meditation that helps calibrate her nervous system for the day's interactions, followed by journaling that clarifies her intentions and priorities before engaging with external demands. This morning foundation provides internal stability that supports more flexible responses to unexpected social opportunities or professional challenges. The Maritime Research Institute has restructured Elena's work arrangement to optimize her contributions while honoring her preferences for depth over breadth in professional engagement. Rather than attending numerous brief meetings that fragment her attention, Elena participates in fewer but more substantial collaborative sessions, where her insights can be fully developed and appreciated. This arrangement demonstrates institutional recognition that accommodating different working Styles ultimately enhances rather than compromises overall productivity and innovation. Elena's relationship with email and digital communication has evolved to support authentic engagement rather than protective distance. She now responds to professional correspondence with greater openness while maintaining clear boundaries about availability and response times. Her messages reflect increased confidence in sharing perspectives and offering suggestions, transforming her digital presence from minimal acknowledgement to meaningful contribution to ongoing professional conversations. Her office space at the Institute has been redesigned to support both individual focus work and small group consultations. Elena has created a meeting area within her office that accommodates up to 4 people for collaborative discussions, while maintaining visual access to the harbor views that support her sense of calm and connection. This environmental modification allows her to engage in professional collaboration without the overwhelm of large conference rooms or unpredictable shared spaces. Elena's cartographic work has expanded to include collaborative projects with international research teams who specifically seek her expertise in mapping complex underwater systems. These partnerships operate primarily through digital platforms that allow her to contribute substantially to multinational research efforts while maintaining geographic stability and routine that support her optimal functioning. Her specialized knowledge has become recognized as essential to projects that require sophisticated understanding of deep-sea topographical relationships. Social relationships have blossomed as Elena applies principles of conscious engagement to personal connections. Her friendship with Dr. Martinez has deepened into weekly conversations that provide both professional collaboration and personal support. Elena has also connected with 2 other researchers whose temperaments and working styles complement her own, creating a small professional network that functions as a mutual support system for navigating academic visibility while maintaining authentic presence. Elena's living space reflects integration of previously separate aspects of her identity. Her apartment now displays some of her most beautiful cartographic work alongside personal artwork that expresses her aesthetic sensibilities and creative capacities. These visual representations of her professional accomplishments create daily reminders of her contributions and capabilities while maintaining the peaceful atmosphere essential to her restoration and reflection needs. Financial management strategies have evolved to support Elena's expanded professional engagement while maintaining security that allows her to make authentic choices rather than decisions driven by economic anxiety. She has established separate funding streams for conference travel, professional development, and emergency retreat funds that ensure she can engage with opportunities while maintaining capacity to withdraw if circumstances become overwhelming. Elena's relationship with technology now serves connection and contribution rather than primarily protection and distance. She maintains professional social media presence that shares insights about marine research while avoiding personal disclosure that might invite unwanted attention. Her online engagement focuses on substantive discussion of scientific topics, rather than social networking, creating digital visibility that aligns with her authentic interests and expertise. Physical health practices have expanded to support Elena's increased professional activity while maintaining the bodily awareness essential to her sensitive system. She has developed exercise routines that enhance her capacity for travel and extended sitting during conferences while incorporating nervous system regulation techniques that prevent overwhelm during periods of increased social interaction. Elena's wardrobe reflects integration of professional visibility with personal comfort and authentic expression. She has acquired clothing that allows her to appear appropriately professional during conferences and presentations, while maintaining sensory comfort and personal style that supports her confidence and ease. These practical accommodations demonstrate Understanding that sustainable visibility requires attention to all factors that influence comfort and capacity for authentic presence. Sleep. Routines have been refined to support Elena's increased travel and variable schedules while maintaining the deep rest essential to her sensitive system. She has developed portable sleep optimization strategies that allow her to maintain sleep quality in hotel rooms and unfamiliar environments, ensuring that professional travel enhances rather than compromises her overall well-being and capacity. For meaningful contribution, Elena's relationship with food and nutrition reflects increased attention to supporting her energy and nervous system during periods of heightened professional engagement. She has learned to identify foods that enhance her clarity and stability while avoiding those that increase anxiety or reduce her capacity for sustained attention during important professional interactions. Home organization now supports both solitary restoration and occasional hosting of small professional gatherings. Elena has created spaces that allow her to welcome colleagues into her personal environment while maintaining clear boundaries about frequency and duration of such interactions. This capability expands her options for professional relationship building while honoring her need for control over her personal sanctuary. Elena's creative expressions have flourished as she integrates previously hidden aspects of herself into fuller personal and professional identity. She has begun creating artistic interpretations of her cartographic work that reveal the aesthetic dimensions of underwater landscapes, developing new ways to share the beauty she perceives in her research through visual media that communicate to broader audiences than traditional scientific publications. The integration of sustainable visibility into Elena's life demonstrates that transformation can enhance, rather than replace essential aspects of personality and temperament. Her sensitivity has become more refined rather than diminished. Her need for solitude has become more skillfully managed rather than eliminated, and her preference for depth has become more consciously expressed rather than apologetically hidden. Elena's new reality reflects successful navigation of the false choice between hiding completely and exposing herself overwhelmingly. Instead, she has developed dynamic approaches to visibility that honor her authentic nature while allowing her gifts to contribute meaningfully to professional communities that appreciate their value. This integration provides foundation for continued growth that serves both personal fulfillment and collective benefit while maintaining the sensitivity that makes her contributions possible. Elena's transformation has crystallized into embodied wisdom that permeates her daily existence, creating new patterns of being that integrate her gifts with sustainable presence in ways that feel authentic and nourishing rather than depleting. This wisdom manifests not as intellectual understanding, but as lived knowledge that guides her choices and responses automatically, without requiring constant conscious management or vigilance. Her internal dialogue has undergone profound renovation, shifting from protective hypervigilance toward gentle awareness that honors both her sensitivity and her strength. Elena's inner voice now speaks with compassionate authority about her needs and boundaries while maintaining openness to growth and new experiences. The harsh self-criticism that previously dominated her internal landscape has transformed into encouraging guidance that supports her emergence while respecting her natural rhythms and limitations. Emotional regulation has become an art form Elena practices with increasing sophistication and ease. Rather than avoiding overwhelming emotions or becoming consumed by them, she has developed capacities for staying present with intense feelings, while maintaining perspective and choice about how to respond. Her sensitive system, which previously felt like liability requiring constant management, now functions as a refined instrument for perceiving emotional reality while maintaining equilibrium and agency. Elena's approach to boundary setting reflects integration of protective wisdom with authentic engagement. She has learned to recognize early warning signals when environments or interactions approach her capacity limits, allowing her to make adjustments before reaching overwhelm. These boundaries function not as rigid walls that prevent connection, but as permeable membranes that allow meaningful exchange while filtering out what would be harmful or depleting. Self-compassion practices have become so natural that Elena rarely notices their operation, yet they provide constant foundation for her interactions with herself and others. When she makes mistakes or encounters situations that trigger old patterns of wanting to disappear, she responds with the same kindness she would offer a dear friend facing similar challenges. This internal gentleness creates safety for continued growth and experimentation without fear of harsh judgment for imperfect performance. Professional interactions now flow from Elena's authentic center rather than from strategies designed to manage others' expectations or avoid potential criticism. She speaks truthfully about her research findings, shares insights that arise naturally from her expertise, and asks questions that reflect genuine curiosity rather than concerns about appearing knowledgeable. This authenticity creates more satisfying professional relationships while reducing the exhaustion that previously followed most work-related social interactions. Elena's relationship with visibility has evolved into conscious choice-making based on clear understanding of her values, capacity, and the potential contribution she might offer in various situations. Rather than defaulting to hiding or forcing herself into overwhelming exposure, she evaluates opportunities based on alignment with her authentic purposes and ability to participate sustainably. This discernment allows her to engage meaningfully with professional visibility while maintaining sovereignty over her energy and presence. Physical embodiment reflects Elena's integrated relationship with her sensitive nature. Her posture expresses quiet confidence rather than protective withdrawal. Her breathing remains relaxed during social interactions that previously triggered anxiety, and her movement through space demonstrates ownership of her right to exist without apology. These physical changes occurred naturally as her internal relationship with visibility transformed from threat to opportunity for authentic expression. Elena's capacity for receiving appreciation and recognition has expanded dramatically as she released beliefs about unworthiness that previously deflected positive feedback. When colleagues praise her research contributions or thank her for insights that influence their work, Elena accepts their gratitude gracefully while allowing it to nourish her sense of professional purpose and personal value. This openness to positive reflection enhances her motivation for continued contribution while validating her choice to emerge from protective invisibility. Interpersonal relationships have deepened as Elena brings more of her authentic self to connections with others. Our friendships include honest sharing about her struggles and victories. Her professional collaborations reflect genuine enthusiasm for collective discovery, and her family relationships have improved through her increased capacity for presence during emotionally intense interactions. Elena's emergence from hiding has created space for others to be more authentic in her presence, generating cycles of mutual revelation and connection. Elena's relationship with solitude has been refined rather than eliminated, transforming from escape mechanism into conscious restoration practice. Her alone time now serves deliberate purposes, processing experiences, integrating insights, reconnecting with internal guidance, and replenishing energy depleted through social interaction. This conscious approach to solitude makes her subsequent engagement with others more present and meaningful while maintaining the reflection time essential to her well-being. Creative expression has emerged as natural extension of Elena's integrated identity. She creates artistic interpretations of her cartographic work that communicate the beauty and mystery of underwater landscapes to audiences beyond the scientific community. These creative endeavors provide additional channels for sharing her unique perspective, while nourishing aspects of herself that purely technical work cannot fully express. Elena's wisdom about sustainable visibility has begun influencing her professional environment as colleagues observe her successful integration of authentic presence with meaningful contribution. Several younger researchers have approached her for guidance about managing academic careers while honoring sensitive temperaments. Elena's example demonstrates possibilities for professional success that don't require sacrificing essential aspects of personality or adopting work styles that feel fundamentally incompatible with one's nature. Sleep and rest patterns reflect Elena's embodied understanding of the relationship between restoration and capacity for presence. She no longer views sleep as escape from overwhelming reality, but as essential foundation for engaging authentically with life's opportunities and challenges. Her sleep quality has improved as anxiety about visibility decreased and excitement about meaningful contribution increased. Elena's embodied wisdom extends to environmental choices that support her optimal functioning while allowing for flexibility and growth. She selects living spaces, travel accommodations, and work arrangements based on understanding of what conditions support her authentic presence, rather than simply what feels safe or familiar. This proactive approach to environmental design enables her to engage with expanding opportunities while maintaining the support. Her sensitive system requires. The integration of Elena's transformation represents not the achievement of fixed state, but the development of dynamic capacities for responding to life's changing circumstances while maintaining connection to her essential self. Her wisdom includes understanding that sustainable visibility requires ongoing attention to the relationship between internal states and external engagement, with flexibility to adjust approaches as situations and capacity evolve. Elena's journey demonstrates that healing the psychology of wanting to disappear involves not the elimination of sensitivity or the forced adoption of extroverted strategies, but the development of authentic approaches to presence that honor both individual nature and collective contribution. Her embodied wisdom provides template for others navigating similar territories while establishing foundation for continued growth that serves both personal fulfillment and meaningful service to broader communities. Elena's transformation from protective invisibility towards sustainable presence generates expanding circles of positive influence that extend far beyond her individual healing journey. Her evolution demonstrates how personal growth, when rooted in authentic integration rather than superficial behavioral changes, naturally creates conditions that support similar growth in others while contributing to collective wisdom about navigating sensitivity and visibility in professional environments. The Maritime Research Institute experiences tangible benefits from Elena's increased engagement and willingness to share her expertise more openly. Her collaborative projects with international research teams attract funding and recognition that elevate the institution's reputation in deep-sea mapping research. Elena's work becomes cornerstone of several major oceanographic studies that advance understanding of underwater current systems and their relationship to climate change patterns. Younger researchers at the Institute find in Elena a mentor whose success validates alternative approaches to academic careers. Graduate students who struggle with conference presentations and networking expectations discover through Elena's example that professional excellence can be achieved through depth of contribution rather than breadth of social engagement. Her willingness to share strategies for managing sensitive temperaments in academic environments creates support system for students who might otherwise abandon scientific careers due to perceived incompatibility with professional visibility. Demands. Dr. Martinez becomes co-author on several of Elena's research publications, their collaborative relationship demonstrating how authentic professional friendships can enhance rather than compromise scientific rigor. Their partnership models integration of personal connection with professional excellence, influencing institute culture toward greater recognition of relationship as foundation for meaningful collaboration rather than merely convenient networking. Elena's presentation methods, developed through necessity to accommodate her temperament, prove effective for diverse audiences and begin influencing how the Institute approaches scientific communication. Her small group workshop formats generate more substantive discussion and knowledge transfer than traditional large audience presentations, leading to institutional adoption of similar approaches for other complex research topics. International colleagues who participate in Elena's virtual collaboration sessions report increased satisfaction with remote research partnerships. Her methods for meaningful digital engagement while maintaining personal boundaries become models for other distributed research teams struggling to balance global collaboration with individual well-being. Several universities adopt Elena's approaches to virtual scientific communication as best practices for inclusive research environments. Elena's artistic interpretations of her cartographic work inspire interdisciplinary collaborations between marine scientists and visual artists. These partnerships create public education materials that communicate complex oceanographic concepts through accessible visual media, expanding public understanding of marine research while demonstrating how scientific expertise can serve broader educational purposes when combined with creative expression. Local community organizations invite Elena to share her research through public education programs designed for general audiences rather than scientific specialists. These presentations, adapted to honor both her temperament and community interest, create new pathways for scientific knowledge to reach non-academic populations while providing Elena with meaningful opportunities to contribute to environmental awareness in her immediate community. Elena's success influences institutional policies regarding accommodation for different working styles and temperaments within academic research environments. The Maritime Research Institute develops formal guidelines for creating inclusive professional environments that recognize diverse approaches to contribution and collaboration. These policies serve as models for other research institutions struggling to retain talented individuals whose gifts require non-traditional support systems. Professional conferences begin incorporating Elena's small group workshop formats as alternatives to traditional keynote presentations, recognizing that intimate discussion sessions often generate more meaningful knowledge exchange than large audience lectures. Conference organizers report increased participant satisfaction and more substantive networking outcomes when offering diverse presentation formats that accommodate different communication preferences and learning styles. Elena's mentorship relationships extend beyond formal academic settings to include correspondence with researchers internationally who share similar temperaments and challenges. Her willingness to share practical strategies for managing professional visibility while maintaining authentic presence creates informal support network for sensitive individuals pursuing careers in science and technology fields. The success of Elena's collaborative international research projects demonstrates that meaningful professional contribution can occur through carefully designed engagement rather than traditional networking and conference circuit participation. This example influences funding agencies to recognize diverse approaches to scientific collaboration and reduces emphasis on conventional visibility metrics when evaluating research proposals and career advancement. Elena's integration of creative expression with scientific expertise inspires other researchers to explore artistic dimensions of their work, leading to increased public engagement with marine science through gallery exhibitions, documentary projects, and educational art installations. These interdisciplinary initiatives expand public support for oceanographic research while providing scientists with additional channels for sharing their discoveries. Family relationships improve as Elena's increased comfort with authentic presence creates space for more honest communication about family dynamics and individual needs. Her parents begin understanding how their emotionally intense household environment affected Elena's development while appreciating the resilience and wisdom she developed through her particular journey. This healing influences their relationships with other family members and their approach to supporting sensitive individuals in their community. Elena's transformation influences Dr. Kowalski's teaching methods at the Maritime Academy, providing real-world example of successful integration of sensitivity with professional excellence. Students in Dr. Kowalski's navigation courses learn not only technical skills, but also approaches to professional development that honor diverse temperaments and working styles, preparing them for sustainable careers that align with their authentic natures. Local businesses begin recognizing the value of accommodating different customer and employee temperaments. Influenced by observing Elena's successful integration within the maritime research community, service providers develop approaches that serve highly sensitive clients while maintaining efficient operations, creating more inclusive community environments that support diverse population needs. Elena's story becomes case study in professional development resources that address workplace accommodation for sensitive temperaments. Her strategies for managing conference participation, collaborative projects, and professional visibility are documented and shared through diversity and inclusion training programs that help organizations create more supportive environments for neurodiverse talent. The ripple effects extend to environmental conservation efforts as Elena's research contributions influence policy discussions about marine habitat protection. Her detailed mapping of underwater ecosystems provides crucial data for conservation strategies, while her approach to public education helps build community support for environmental protection initiatives. Elena's journey demonstrates that individual healing, when approached with integrity and consciousness, naturally generates collective benefit without requiring explicit intention to influence others. Her commitment to authentic presence while honoring her sensitive nature creates conditions that support similar authenticity in others while advancing understanding about the commanders relationship between individual temperament and meaningful contribution to collective endeavors. The expanding influence of Elena's transformation illustrates how personal growth rooted in self-acceptance rather than self-improvement generates sustainable positive change that honors both individual nature and collective needs. Her example provides hope and practical guidance for others navigating similar territories while contributing to cultural evolution toward greater recognition of diverse approaches to professional success and meaningful presence. Elena's deepest healing occurs through compassionate engagement with aspects of herself she had previously rejected or hidden, the parts that felt too intense, too demanding, too uncomfortable for the carefully controlled identity she had constructed around protective invisibility. This shadow integration represents not the elimination of difficult aspects, but their conscious inclusion in a more complete and authentic sense of self. The first shadow element Elena encounters involves her profound anger about having to minimize herself to accommodate others' comfort with her intensity. Beneath years of protective accommodation lived rage about environments that required her to dim her perceptions, soften her insights, and hide her authentic responses to maintain social harmony. This anger, long buried beneath compliance and people-pleasing, emerges not as destructive force, but as vital energy that had been misdirected toward self-suppression rather than appropriate boundary setting. Elena discovers that her anger contains crucial information about her values and needs that had been obscured by her focus on avoiding conflict and maintaining invisibility. Her rage about being misunderstood or dismissed carries within it clear communication about her desire to be truly seen and appreciated for her authentic contributions. Learning to honor this anger as valid response to genuine violations allows Elena to develop more effective strategies for protecting her sensitive nature while maintaining authentic engagement. The shadow of her perfectionism reveals itself as protection against vulnerability rather than pursuit of excellence. Elena recognizes that her compulsive attention to detail and fear of making mistakes serve to minimize opportunities for criticism or rejection. Yet this perfectionism also prevented her from taking creative risks that might have led to breakthrough discoveries or meaningful innovations in her research approach. Embracing imperfection becomes an act of courage that allows Elena to share works in progress, ask questions that reveal gaps in her knowledge, and experiment with research methods that might not succeed. This willingness to appear less than perfect paradoxically enhances her professional contributions by enabling collaboration, learning, and creative exploration that her previous perfectionism had prevented. Elena confronts the shadow of her envy toward people who seem naturally comfortable with visibility and social interaction. This envy had generated internal criticism about her own limitations, while creating distance from potentially supportive relationships with more extroverted colleagues. Acknowledging this envy as natural response to feeling disadvantaged allows Elena to examine what she actually desires, rather than focusing on what she lacks. Through shadow work, Elena discovers that her envy often masked admiration and contained information about qualities she wanted to develop rather than evidence of fundamental inadequacy. Her envy of others' ease with presentation reveals her own desire to share her discoveries more effectively. Her envy of social connection points toward her longing for meaningful, professional relationships that support rather than drain her. The shadow of Elena's grandiosity emerges as compensation for feelings of insignificance and invisibility. Her unconscious belief in the exceptional importance of her work had served to justify her withdrawal from normal professional engagement, while protecting her from potential rejection or criticism. This grandiosity prevented her from receiving valuable feedback that might have improved her research while maintaining unrealistic expectations about the recognition her work deserved. Integrating this grandiosity involves accepting both the genuine value of her contributions and their place within larger, collaborative efforts that require input from multiple perspectives. Elena learns to appreciate her unique gifts without needing them to be universally recognized or accepted, creating space for productive collaboration that enhances rather than threatens her sense of professional identity. Elena's shadow includes the part of her that judges others for their apparent insensitivity or lack of awareness about environmental and emotional subtleties. This judgmental aspect had created a sense of superiority that justified her withdrawal while preventing genuine connection with colleagues, whose different temperaments might offer valuable perspectives and support. Recognizing her tendency toward intellectual arrogance allows Elena to approach others with curiosity rather than criticism, discovering that people she had dismissed as insensitive often possessed complementary strengths that enhanced collaborative efforts. Her integration of this shadow transforms her from isolated expert into collaborative team member who appreciates diverse approaches to understanding and solving complex problems. The deepest shadow Elena encounters involves her fear of her own power and influence. Her protective invisibility had served not only to avoid overwhelm, but to prevent the responsibility that comes with recognizing her capacity to affect others through her presence and contributions. This fear of personal power had kept her contributions artificially small while protecting her from accountability for the full impact of her gifts. Embracing her authentic power requires Elena to accept responsibility for the influence her insights and presence naturally generate while learning to wield this influence consciously and ethically. This integration transforms her from someone who hides her light to avoid responsibility into someone who shares her gifts with awareness of their potential impact and commitment to using them beneficially. Elena's shadow work reveals that her desire to disappear had contained wisdom about the need for retreat and restoration, while also masking fear of her own brilliance and capacity for contribution. Integration involves honoring both aspects, maintaining her essential need for solitude and reflection while accepting her responsibility to share her gifts with communities that can benefit from her unique perspective and expertise. Elena's journey toward authentic presence culminates in profound alignment with her soul's deeper purpose, a recognition that transcends career success or personal healing to encompass her unique role in the larger patterns of existence and service. This alignment emerges not through external seeking, but through patient listening to internal guidance that had been obscured by protective strategies and cultural expectations about how life should be lived. The recognition of her soul's calling begins with understanding that her sensitivity and preference for exploring hidden realms serve purposes beyond personal accommodation or professional specialty. Elena realizes that her capacity to perceive what others miss, whether underwater currents or emotional dynamics, represents her soul's contribution to collective understanding and healing. Her gifts exist not merely for her own survival or success, but as part of larger intelligence that works through sensitive individuals to reveal important truths. Elena's work mapping invisible underwater territories becomes metaphor for her soul's deeper purpose of revealing hidden aspects of reality that influence visible phenomena. Her research contributes to understanding of ocean systems that affect global climate patterns, but her soul's work extends beyond environmental science to include modeling ways of being present that honor sensitivity while serving collective needs. Through meditation and reflection practices that deepen as her external life stabilizes, Elena receives increasing clarity about her role as bridge between visible and invisible worlds. Her professional expertise in cartography serves her soul's calling to help others navigate the relationship between surface appearances and underlying realities, whether in environmental systems or personal development. Elena's soul alignment includes recognition that her journey from wanting to disappear toward sustainable presence provides template for others who struggle with similar challenges. Her willingness to document and share her strategies for managing sensitivity while pursuing meaningful contribution serves her soul's purpose of supporting other sensitive individuals in finding their authentic places in the world. The alignment manifests as Elena begins accepting invitations to mentor graduate students and young professionals who struggle with academic environments that seem incompatible with their temperaments. Her guidance extends beyond practical strategies to include spiritual perspective on the gifts inherent in sensitive perception and the importance of honoring one's authentic nature while finding ways to contribute meaningfully to collective endeavors. Elena's soul purpose includes serving as translator between different worlds of experience, helping scientists understand the emotional and spiritual dimensions of environmental research while assisting sensitive individuals in recognizing their potential for professional contribution. This translation work requires her unique combination of scientific expertise and deep understanding of sensitivity as gift rather than limitation. Her artistic expressions of cartographic work serve sole purposes of communicating beauty and mystery inherent in scientific discovery while making complex environmental concepts accessible to broader audiences. Elena recognizes that her creative impulses exist not merely for personal satisfaction, but as part of her soul's calling to inspire appreciation for hidden aspects of natural world. Elena's alignment includes understanding that her preference for depth over breadth in relationships serves sole purposes of creating authentic connections that model possibilities for meaningful intimacy while respecting individual boundaries and needs. Her relationships become laboratories for exploring how sensitive individuals can maintain authentic presence in various types of partnerships and collaborations. The soul alignment encompasses Elena's recognition that her healing journey serves purposes beyond personal fulfillment to include contribution to collective evolution toward greater acceptance of diverse temperaments and approaches to meaningful participation in professional and social environments. Her example provides evidence that accommodation of sensitivity enhances, rather than compromises, collective capacity for addressing complex challenges. Elena's spiritual practices evolve to support ongoing discernment about opportunities that align with soul purposes versus those that serve only ego needs or external expectations. She develops capacity for distinguishing between invitations that genuinely serve her gifts and calling from those that would merely increase her visibility or professional status without meaningful contribution. Her soul alignment includes accepting her role as steward of wisdom about sustainable visibility for sensitive individuals while remaining humble about the limitations of her understanding and experience. Elena recognizes that her journey provides one example among many possible approaches to integrating sensitivity with meaningful contribution, avoiding the temptation to prescribe universal solutions for complex individual challenges. The alignment manifests in Elena's increasing trust in internal guidance about timing and approach for various aspects of her professional and personal development. She learns to recognize the difference between resistance based on fear and wisdom about pacing that honors her authentic capacity for growth and contribution. Elena's sole purpose encompasses her role in demonstrating that healing the psychology of wanting to disappear involves not the elimination of the desire for retreat, but its integration with equally authentic desires for connection and contribution. Her journey illustrates how apparent contradictions between individual needs and collective service can be resolved through conscious attention to authentic alignment rather than forced choices between opposing values. Elena's transformation culminates in recognition of her fundamental interconnection with all existence, a awareness that transcends individual identity while paradoxically strengthening her capacity for authentic presence and meaningful contribution. This transcendent connection emerges not as escape from personal challenges, but as context that reveals their deeper significance and purpose within larger patterns of healing and evolution. Standing at her office window overlooking Solace Bay, Elena experiences moments of expanded awareness where her individual story dissolves into recognition of universal themes that connect her journey with countless others who have struggled to find authentic ways of being present in overwhelming world. Our particular experience of sensitivity and visibility becomes vehicle for understanding broader human challenges related to belonging, contribution, and authentic expression. The transcendent connection includes visceral understanding that her desire to disappear reflected not personal pathology but intelligent response to cultural environments that had not yet learned to honor and support diverse temperaments and approaches to meaningful participation. Her healing journey contributes to collective evolution toward greater wisdom about creating inclusive environments that allow various personality types to contribute their unique gifts. Elena's daily work, mapping underwater territories, becomes meditation on the relationship between visible and invisible dimensions of reality. Her cartographic practice reveals how surface phenomena depend upon hidden currents and structures, providing ongoing metaphor for understanding how individual consciousness connects with universal patterns that influence but remain largely unseen in ordinary awareness. Through contemplative practices that evolve naturally as her external life stabilized, Elena experiences direct recognition of the awareness that exists beneath personal thoughts and emotions, the unchanging consciousness that witnesses all experience while remaining unaffected by particular circumstances. This recognition provides unshakable foundation for authentic presence that no longer depends upon external validation or perfect environmental conditions. The transcendent connection manifests as Elena's increasing capacity to hold apparently contradictory experiences simultaneously without need for resolution, appreciating both her need for solitude and her longing for connection, honoring both her sensitivity to overwhelm and her desire for meaningful contribution, accepting both her limitations and her gifts as equally valid aspects of her authentic nature. Elena's relationships begin reflecting this expanded awareness as she relates to others, not only as separate individuals with whom she shares common interests, but as expressions of universal consciousness that appears in countless forms while maintaining essential unity. This perspective enhances rather than diminishes her appreciation for individual differences while reducing anxiety about social interaction through recognition of fundamental safety that exists beneath surface appearances. Her professional contributions take on quality of service that extends beyond career advancement or personal recognition to include genuine offering of her gifts for collective benefit. Elena's research and teaching begin flowing from connection with purposes larger than individual achievement while maintaining full appreciation for the personal satisfaction and growth that meaningful work provides. The transcendent connection includes Elena's recognition that her journey from wanting to disappear toward sustainable presence mirrors universal themes of death and rebirth, withdrawal and emergence, hiding and revelation that appear throughout natural and spiritual traditions. Her personal transformation becomes conscious participation in eternal patterns that govern individual and collective evolution. Elena's understanding of time shifts to encompass both linear progression and eternal present moment, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. This expanded temporal awareness allows her to appreciate her growth journey while recognizing that her essential nature was never actually damaged or incomplete, only temporarily obscured by protective strategies that served important functions during particular life phases. A relationship with uncertainty transforms from source of anxiety, requiring control, into recognition of mystery as fundamental aspect of existence that makes growth and discovery possible. Elena learns to navigate professional and personal challenges from trust in larger intelligence that coordinates individual experiences within collective patterns, too complex for mental comprehension. The transcendent connection culminates in Elena's embodied understanding that sustainable visibility requires not elimination of the impulse to disappear, but its integration with equally authentic impulses toward emergence and contribution. Her journey demonstrates that apparent opposites can be transcended through expanded awareness that honors all aspects of experience while identifying with none exclusively. Elena's daily life reflects this transcendent integration as ordinary activities become expressions of universal principles. Her morning meditation connects her with timeless awareness. Her cartographic work serves cosmic purposes of revelation and understanding. Her relationships provide opportunities for practicing unconditional love, and her solitude offers space for communion with infinite consciousness that exists within and beyond individual identity. This transcendent connection provides completion for Elena's healing journey, while establishing foundation for continued growth that serves both individual fulfillment and collective evolution toward greater wisdom about supporting diverse expressions of consciousness in their authentic emergence and contribution to universal purposes. Elena's story finds its natural resolution not in dramatic transformation, but in gentle integration of all aspects of her journey into a life that honors both her essential nature and her soul's calling to contribute meaningfully to the world. 2 years after her breakthrough moment before the mirror, Elena exists in dynamic balance between solitude and engagement, depth and visibility, protection and openness that allows her authentic gifts to flourish while maintaining the sensitivity that makes them possible. Her work has expanded to include collaborative research projects that span continents while respecting her need for structured engagement and adequate restoration time. Elena's office at the Maritime Research Institute has become a gathering place for small groups of researchers who appreciate thoughtful dialogue over casual networking, creating professional community that supports rather than drains her sensitive system. The conference presentation that initially triggered her transformation now represents one of many meaningful ways. Elena shares her expertise with appropriate audiences under conditions that honor her temperament. She has developed reputation not only for exceptional research, but for innovative approaches to scientific communication that make complex information accessible, while creating inclusive environments for diverse learning and participation styles. Elena's personal relationships reflect successful integration of authentic presence with healthy boundaries. Her friendship with Dr. Martinez has evolved into collaborative partnership that enhances both their research contributions while providing mutual support for navigating academic environments as sensitive individuals. Her mentorship relationships with younger researchers offer meaningful service that connects her with larger purposes while operating within sustainable limits. Her living space in Solace Bay continues providing peaceful sanctuary that supports both restoration and creative expression. Elena's apartment walls now display not only her cartographic work, but artistic interpretations that reveal the beauty inherent in scientific discovery, reflecting integration of professional expertise with creative capacities that enrich her life and contribute to public appreciation for marine research. The desire to disappear that once dominated Elena's psychology has transformed into wisdom about appropriate timing for retreat and emergence. She honors impulses toward solitude as guidance about when restoration is needed, while recognizing impulses toward engagement as invitations to share her gifts with communities that can benefit from her unique perspective. Elena's journey demonstrates that healing the psychology of wanting to disappear involves not the elimination of sensitivity or forced adoption of extroverted strategies, but the development of authentic approaches to presence that serve both individual nature and collective needs. Her transformation provides hope and practical guidance for others navigating similar territories, while establishing foundation for continued growth that honors the gifts inherent in sensitive perception. As Elena's story settles into the peaceful rhythms of sustainable integration, notice how her journey mirrors possibilities that exist within your own consciousness, pathways toward authentic presence that honor your essential nature while allowing your unique gifts to contribute meaningfully to the world around you. Elena's transformation from protective invisibility toward sustainable visibility reflects universal principles of growth that apply regardless of specific circumstances or particular challenges you may face. Our discovery that sensitivity can serve as foundation rather than limitation offers perspective that might illuminate your own relationship with qualities you have learned to manage or hide. The integration Elena achieved between solitude and engagement, depth and contribution, protection and openness, demonstrates that apparent contradictions can be resolved through expanded awareness rather than forced choices between competing values. Her journey suggests that your own healing might involve not eliminating aspects of yourself you have learned to suppress, but discovering more skillful ways of expressing them. Elena's recognition that her desire to disappear contained wisdom about restoration needs, while also masking fear of her own power, offers framework for examining your own protective strategies with compassion and curiosity. Her story suggests that impulses toward withdrawal might contain important information about authentic needs, while also pointing toward unexplored capacities for contribution and connection. The professional success Elena achieved through honoring rather than fighting her temperament demonstrates that meaningful work can emerge from authentic self-expression rather than adaptation to external expectations. Her example offers permission to explore approaches to contribution that align with your natural gifts and preferences rather than conventional definitions of success or visibility. As Elena's story becomes part of your awareness, allow its themes of integration, authenticity, and sustainable presence to activate similar possibilities within your own consciousness. A journey from wanting to disappear towards sustainable visibility provides template for your own exploration of authentic ways of being present in the world while honoring the sensitivity and depth that make your contributions unique and valuable. Elena's transformation now lives within your awareness like seeds planted in fertile soil, ready to sprout into new possibilities as your conscious mind releases its vigilance and allows deeper wisdom to integrate these insights into the foundation of your being. As you settle more completely into rest, feel how Elena's journey toward authentic presence creates pathways in your own consciousness towards sustainable ways of being visible while maintaining the sensitivity that makes your perceptions and contributions unique. Your breathing naturally deepens as you absorb the frequencies of integration that flow through Elena's story, the peace that comes from accepting all aspects of yourself, the confidence that emerges from recognizing your gifts as valuable rather than burdensome, the relief of discovering that authentic presence requires not performance, but simply showing up as you truly are. Let your body surrender more completely to gravity's embrace as Bihardis. Elena's wisdom about sustainable visibility settles into your cellular memory. Your nervous system receives permission to be sensitive while remaining strong, to seek solitude while maintaining connection, to honor your depth while sharing your gifts with communities that appreciate their value. As sleep approaches, feel how Elena's journey from wanting to disappear toward authentic presence creates space within your own psychology for similar transformation. Her story becomes a lullaby that soothes old fears about visibility while awakening confidence in your capacity for meaningful contribution that honors both your nature and your calling. Allow Elena's peaceful integration to guide you into restorative sleep, where healing continues beyond conscious awareness. Your dreams may carry forward themes of sustainable presence, authentic contribution, and the courage to be visible in ways that nourish rather than deplete your essential self. Rest deeply now, knowing that Elena's transformation lives within your consciousness as possibility and permission for your own journey toward authentic presence. Sleep peacefully, trusting that her story has planted seeds of integration that will flourish in their own perfect timing, supporting your emergence into sustainable visibility that serves both your authentic nature and your soul's calling to contribute meaningfully to the world. Sweet dreams of transformation, authentic presence, and the courage to be beautifully, powerfully, peacefully visible exactly as you are. 5 years have passed since Elena's initial transformation, and the ripples of her journey continue expanding in ways she never anticipated when she first sat with Dr. Kowalski on that misty morning bench. Elena's story has become living testimony to the possibility of honoring sensitivity while contributing meaningfully to the world, inspiring changes that extend far beyond her individual healing into collective evolution toward greater wisdom about supporting diverse temperaments in professional and personal environments. The Maritime Research Institute has become recognized internationally not only for groundbreaking scientific research, but for innovative approaches to creating inclusive academic environments that honor different working styles and communication preferences. Elena's influence on institutional culture has generated policies and practices that support sensitive individuals while enhancing overall productivity and collaboration across diverse personality types. Elena's mentorship program for sensitive researchers has expanded into formal curriculum at several universities, providing structured support for students whose temperaments require different approaches to academic success than traditional models assume. Her methods for sustainable visibility have been documented in academic literature, offering evidence-based strategies for managing professional careers while maintaining authentic presence and avoiding burnout. The small workshop format Elena, pioneered for conference presentations, has been adopted by scientific organizations worldwide, creating more intimate and meaningful opportunities for knowledge exchange while reducing the overwhelming aspects of large audience presentations that discourage participation from many gifted researchers. These alternative formats have increased diversity of voices in scientific discourse while improving quality of professional interactions. Elena's artistic interpretations of cartographic work have inspired museum exhibitions that make complex marine science accessible to general audiences while demonstrating how scientific expertise can serve broader educational and cultural purposes. Her integration of analytical and creative capacities provides model for other researchers seeking to share their discoveries through multiple channels that reach diverse communities. Local environmental organizations have adopted Elena's research findings to support conservation initiatives that protect marine habitats while engaging community members through educational programs that honor different learning styles and participation preferences. Her work demonstrates how individual expertise, when shared authentically, can contribute to collective action for environmental protection and sustainability. Elena's relationship with Dr. Kowalski has evolved into collaborative partnership where they co-teach workshops for professionals struggling with visibility and contribution challenges across various fields. Their combined expertise in navigation, both literal and metaphorical, provides comprehensive support for individuals seeking to align their authentic nature with meaningful career development. The success of Elena's professional integration has influenced her family's understanding of sensitivity as gift rather than limitation, healing intergenerational patterns of misunderstanding about highly sensitive temperaments. Their parents have become advocates for educational approaches that honor diverse learning styles, while Elena's example provides hope for other family members who share similar characteristics. International research collaborations that Elena participates in have developed new models for distributed teamwork that maximize individual contributions while respecting different cultural and temperamental approaches to professional engagement. These innovative collaboration methods increase effectiveness of global research efforts while supporting sustainability and work-life integration for participants. Elena's story has been featured in professional development resources that address workplace accommodation for neurodivergent individuals, providing practical examples of how organizations can adapt their structures to support diverse talent while maintaining high standards for performance and contribution. Her example influences corporate culture toward greater recognition of different paths to professional excellence. The coastal town of Solace Bay has evolved into a retreat destination for sensitive professionals seeking environments that support restoration and reflection while engaging in meaningful work. Elena's presence and example have attracted like-minded individuals who contribute to community culture that honors both solitude and connection, depth and engagement. Elena's documentation of her transformation journey has influenced therapeutic approaches to working with clients who struggle with visibility and social anxiety, providing alternative frameworks that focus on authentic expression rather than conventional exposure therapy. Her story offers hope and practical guidance for mental health professionals supporting sensitive individuals in finding sustainable approaches to professional and personal visibility. Research funding agencies have begun recognizing Elena's collaborative methods as effective approaches to international scientific cooperation, supporting projects that prioritize sustainable engagement and authentic contribution over traditional networking and visibility metrics. This shift influences how academic success is measured and supported across multiple disciplines. Elena's integration of technology for meaningful professional connection while maintaining personal boundaries has inspired development of digital platforms designed specifically for sensitive professionals who prefer depth-oriented networking, and collaboration over conventional social media approaches. These platforms support authentic professional relationship building while respecting individual needs for privacy and controlled interaction. The philosophical implications of Elena's journey, particularly her demonstration that apparent weaknesses can be reframed as sophisticated strengths when properly understood and supported, have influenced academic discourse about diversity, inclusion, and the value of different temperamental approaches to problem solving and innovation in research. Environments. Elena's legacy continues expanding as each person influenced by her example carries forward new possibilities for integrating sensitivity with meaningful contribution, creating exponential ripples of positive change that honor both individual authenticity and collective benefit. Her story provides evidence that personal healing, when rooted in genuine self-acceptance rather than forced adaptation, naturally generates conditions that support similar growth in others while advancing collective wisdom about creating environments where diverse gifts can flourish. Beyond Elena's individual transformation lies a profound teaching about the nature of visibility itself and the relationship between authentic presence and meaningful contribution. Her journey reveals that the psychology of wanting to disappear often contains sophisticated wisdom about the conditions necessary for sensitive systems to thrive while pointing toward unexplored capacities for service that honor both individual nature and collective needs. Elena's story demonstrates that sustainable visibility requires not the elimination of the impulse to retreat, but its integration with equally authentic desires for connection and contribution. Her transformation illustrates how apparent contradictions between self-protection and self-expression can be resolved through expanded awareness that honors all aspects of experience while maintaining dynamic balance between competing needs and values. The deeper teaching encompasses recognition that sensitivity serves evolutionary purposes within human communities, providing early warning systems for environmental changes, detecting subtle relational dynamics that influence group cohesion, and perceiving beauty and meaning that enrich collective experience. Elena's journey validates the essential role of highly sensitive individuals in maintaining environmental and social awareness that supports community survival and flourishing. Her transformation reveals that healing the psychology of wanting to disappear involves discovering the difference between visibility that serves authentic expression and visibility that demands performance of others' expectations. This distinction becomes crucial for sensitive individuals who must learn to recognize opportunities that genuinely honor their gifts versus those that would exploit their talents while ignoring their needs. Elena's story teaches that sustainable presence requires ongoing negotiation rather than fixed decisions about how to be in the world. Her example demonstrates that healthy visibility involves continuous attunement to internal guidance about when to emerge and when to retreat, when to share and when to preserve energy, when to engage and when to restore. The teaching extends to recognition that many individuals who struggle with visibility challenges possess gifts that communities desperately need: deep perception, environmental sensitivity, capacity for sustained focus, appreciation for beauty and meaning, and ability to detect patterns that others miss. Elena's transformation provides template for accessing these gifts without overwhelming the systems that produce them. Her journey illustrates that authentic healing often involves expanding rather than eliminating existing capacities. Elena's sensitivity was refined rather than reduced. Her need for solitude was honored rather than overcome, and her preference for depth was expressed rather than abandoned. This approach to transformation respects the intelligence inherent in protective strategies while exploring more sustainable ways of meeting underlying needs. The deeper teaching encompasses understanding that visibility and invisibility exist in dynamic relationship rather than opposition. Elena's story demonstrates that periods of retreat serve essential functions in maintaining capacity for meaningful engagement, while periods of visibility provide opportunities for sharing gifts that benefit both individual and collective development. Elena's transformation teaches that professional success can emerge from honoring rather than fighting one's essential nature. Her career achievements resulted from working with her temperament rather than against it, finding ways to contribute meaningfully while maintaining the sensitivity that made her contributions possible. The teaching includes recognition that healing often occurs through relationship with mentors and guides who model possibilities for integration rather than forcing change through individual willpower alone. Elena's encounter with Dr. Kowalski demonstrates the importance of witnessing authentic examples of how challenges can be transformed into strengths through conscious approach to personal development. Elena's story teaches that individual transformation, when approached with integrity and commitment to authenticity, naturally generates collective benefit without requiring explicit intention to influence others. Her healing journey created conditions that supported similar growth in numerous other individuals while contributing to institutional and cultural evolution toward greater wisdom about supporting diverse approaches to meaningful participation. The deeper teaching culminates in understanding that the psychology of wanting to disappear often masks profound gifts that the world needs but hasn't yet learned to recognize and support. Elena's transformation provides hope and practical guidance for accessing these hidden treasures while maintaining the sensitivity that makes them possible. Elena's journey connects with timeless patterns of transformation that appear throughout human experience, the universal themes of death and rebirth, withdrawal and emergence, hiding and revelation that govern both individual development and collective evolution. Her story becomes vehicle for accessing ancient wisdom about the relationship between solitude and community, depth and contribution, protection and openness that speaks to fundamental questions about how to live authentically while serving purposes larger than personal comfort. The archetypal dimensions of Elena's transformation reveal her as modern expression of the hermit who retreats to gain wisdom, the sage who shares insights from contemplative depths, and the guide who helps others navigate territories they have personally explored. Her journey embodies the perennial teaching that apparent weakness, when properly understood and integrated, often conceals profound strength that serves both individual fulfillment and collective evolution. Elena's story resonates with spiritual traditions that recognize sensitivity as gift rather than limitation, pathways of awareness that honor the mystic's capacity for perceiving subtle realities, the artist's ability to translate invisible beauty into visible form, and the healer's sensitivity to energy and emotion that supports others' growth and restoration. Her transformation validates approaches to spiritual development that honor introversion and contemplative practice as equally valuable to extroverted service and visible leadership. The universal resonance extends to Elena's demonstration that authentic presence requires no justification or explanation. Simply showing up as one truly is become sufficient contribution. When rooted in genuine self-acceptance and clear understanding of one's gifts and limitations. A journey teaches that the effort to be someone other than who we essentially are depletes energy that could be directed toward discovering more skillful ways of expressing our authentic nature. Elena's transformation illustrates eternal wisdom about the relationship between individual healing and collective benefit. Her personal journey from protective invisibility towards sustainable presence created conditions that supported similar transformation in others, while contributing to cultural evolution toward greater recognition of diverse approaches to meaningful participation in professional and social environments. The deeper universal teaching encompasses Elena's discovery that her desire to disappear contained both protective wisdom about her genuine needs and unconscious fear of her own power and capacity for influence. This recognition reflects timeless spiritual insight that our greatest fears often surround our most profound gifts, the very capacities that we are meant to develop and share for collective benefit. Elena's story embodies universal principles of healing that honor both the intelligence inherent in protective strategies and the growth that becomes possible when safety is established sufficiently to allow exploration of new possibilities. Her transformation demonstrates that healing rarely involves abandoning protective mechanisms, but rather expanding the range of responses available for meeting underlying needs. The eternal wisdom revealed through Elena's journey includes understanding that visibility and invisibility serve different functions in the rhythm of authentic development. Her story validates the hermit's retreat as essential preparation for the teacher's emergence, the artist's solitude as foundation for the creator's contribution, and the mystic's contemplation as source of the guide's wisdom. Elena's transformation resonates with perennial teachings about the relationship between inner work and outer service. Her journey demonstrates that periods of withdrawal and self-development naturally generate capacity for meaningful contribution when approached with consciousness and commitment to authentic expression rather than forced adaptation to external expectations. The universal resonance culminates in Elena's embodiment of the teaching that sustainable service requires ongoing attention to the failing relationship between individual nature and collective needs. Her story provides template for discovering approaches to contribution that honor both personal authenticity and social responsibility, while avoiding the false choice between self-care and service to others. Elena's legacy connects with eternal wisdom traditions that recognize diverse paths to meaningful existence, while honoring the particular gifts that emerge from sensitive, contemplative, and depth-oriented approaches to understanding reality. Her journey offers validation and practical guidance for others whose temperaments require alternative approaches to professional development and authentic presence while contributing to collective evolution toward greater wisdom about supporting diverse expressions of human potential.